Hey guys, Ernie here and welcome to the Paleo Hiker MD channel. One of the most requested videos on the channel is people want me to make dehydrated backpacking food that's paleo friendly. So today we're going to take a look at how to make dehydrated spaghetti squash with meat sauce and dehydrated zucchini noodles with meat sauce. Thanks for watching. So first we're going to start with our zucchini. I've got two basic zucchini here. We're going to use a spiralizer to make these into noodles. So let me show you how this works. It's pretty cool. Now if you don't happen to have one of these spiral machines, you can actually, I've seen it now at our local Kroger at least, where you can buy zucchini noodles pre-made. One of these machines on Amazon is like $25 or something. If you're going to be doing this quite a bit, it's worth it. So you just stick the zucchini in there. So pretty simple. Now that you've got your zucchini noodles, I'm not going to show you this step, but all you got to do, get about 2 cups of water, bring it to a boil, salt it nicely, parboil these for about 3 or 4 minutes just to take a little bit of the edge off, and then drain them really well. And we'll pick up with these in a little while. Let's take a look at our spaghetti squash now. If you have never had spaghetti squash, I can't tell y'all enough. It is so good. You want to cut off the ends just like this, okay? And you want to get it and you want to cut it in close to as half as you can. Alright, and what you're going to get on the inside is this seeds and pith. You want to just scrape that out. Just scrape this out. Doesn't have to be perfect, but you want to get it kind of as clean as you can. Just like that. I'm going to scrape out this other one, and what you want to do is put a little bit of salt and pepper. You can even put a little bit of olive oil on here. Get your oven preheated to 350 or 375 and cook these for about 45 minutes. You can put them right on the grate. That will cook this completely and allow you to scrape out the individual spaghetti squash type strands, which I'll show you in a little bit. So I'm going to put this in the oven and show you what it looks like after it's baked. So here's our zucchini. You can see that it's well done here. We're going to mix some tomato sauce with our zucchini. All right, and you may be wondering, well, where is the meat? Well, that we'll talk about here at the end. So basically, you want to saturate your zucchini nice and well with the sauce. So this is one of the dehydrator sheets. I've got a piece of parchment paper I'm going to put right there. I'll probably divide this like in two because I do want to be able to spread it out pretty thin. And you just want to spread it out, okay, where it's nice and thin. And this is going to dehydrate really, really well. There's one. I'm going to put this in the food dehydrator and make the next one. Next thing we will do is get our spaghetti squash. I'm just going to go ahead and use the same bowl because we're going to use sauce with it. You can see here that I've got a fork, and when you just scrape the spaghetti squash, what you end up with is spaghetti-like consistency. So there we go, we've got our spaghetti squash, okay? And once again, we're gonna add some of our sauce. The sauce will dehydrate, so don't be afraid to put extra in there. It will dehydrate nicely and give your finished product, I think, a better taste. You wanna mix this pretty darn well, and you can see why people say this looks like spaghetti, because it does. And I'll tell y'all, once you get used to it, it obviously doesn't taste exactly the same, but it tastes really good. Now, unless you're pressed for space, I would suggest doing it in several trays so that you can get this nice and thin. It just allows it to dehydrate more consistently. I have 9 trays on my dehydrator, so I have plenty of trays. And let me do one more. Now, if you grew up in my generation, you might remember a Wendy's commercial, and the tagline was, "Where's the beef?" And you may be asking yourself, well, where's the beef? This is supposed to be meat sauce with spaghetti squash and meat sauce with zucchini noodles. Well, the bottom line is, if you look at most charts for temperatures, vegetables should be dehydrated at 125 degrees Fahrenheit. Meat should be dehydrated at 155 degrees Fahrenheit. From my readings and watching other YouTube videos, many people say that you should dehydrate the meat separately because it has to be dehydrated at a higher temperature to be optimally dehydrated. And in my testing so far, I absolutely agree. Makes much more sense to dehydrate this overnight at 125 degrees, let it sit for 8 to 10 hours, and then tomorrow we will make the meat. So all we got to do now is set our temperature. This one you can either do 122 or 131, so I did pick the 131 degrees. We're going to let this sit overnight, should be about 8 to 10 hours. I'll show you all in the morning what this looks like, and tomorrow night we'll tackle the meat. All right, so it's the next morning and our stuff has been dehydrating for about 10 hours. We'll take a look at it real quick. Just gonna pull it out of our dehydrator here. First we'll look at our zucchini. You guys can see here, it's well dehydrated. It's almost like a fruit roll-up. And this is what I want mine to look like. I want it to be dry and easy to handle. Now what I'll usually do is I'll actually kind of break it up a little bit. Rip it a little bit just to make it more manageable. And then we're going to store this in a plastic bag because we're not ready yet to put our actual meals together and vacuum seal them till we make our meat tonight. So here's our spaghetti squash. And you can see it just comes off like in sheets, okay? And that is what I want mine to look like. Again, I just put all 3 sheets. These are literally like just big sheets, right? And that's the way you want it because it needs to be dry enough to be able to, once you get the moisture out, that's what allows it to be a lot more shelf stable. I do want to note to you guys that the pasta sauce that I use is paleo friendly. If you look at the back of the actual bottles, you can find them. The biggest thing is you just want to make sure there's no sugar. So just make sure you check that out. So 2 zucchini and about 1/3 of the bottle of tomato sauce made this, and 1 whole spaghetti squash made this. So not a whole lot weight-wise. Tonight, when I get home from work, we're gonna work on the meat, so stay tuned. All right guys, so we are back from work, and I've got water boiling. Now the way that I cook my meat, there's a gentleman on YouTube that I got a lot of ideas from. I'll make sure and link down below. I can't remember his name, but he has a lot of really interesting ideas about dehydrating food. And one of them is actually boiling his ground meat, and it makes all the sense in the world because if you fry your ground meat, you're going to have to drain it really, really well and then wash it really, really well. And we'll still do that, but this helps eliminate the fat. The fat is what will go rancid when you dehydrate it if you don't get it off. So I have some boiling water here. You want to get the leanest ground meat that you can. For me, that's 93% lean ground meat. And when you drop it in, just take your time and drop it in bit by bit so that you don't have any clumps. All right, so it's been boiling for just a couple of minutes. We're going to take it over to the sink and rinse it with hot water. So this is what we got, okay? Just get in there with your hands and break it up really well, okay? You want to try to get as uniform pieces as possible so that when you dehydrate it, it dehydrates pretty evenly, okay? And I like to add some seasoning at this point, really just salt. I think a good solid pinch of salt will help. Of course, we know salt is a natural preservative, so it's going to help as well in just preserving the meat. If you want to add anything else, you can. So from here, we're going to get our tray, and we're going to put about half of our meat on this tray. Spread it out nice and thin, okay? Again, I use parchment paper. It works really, really well. This is going to go into our dehydrator. So like we talked about before, we have everything in the dehydrator now. We're going to turn it on and we're going to set it to the highest setting, 165. Mine happens to be 161, so we're going to put it on that. And it's going to go for another 8 or 10 hours. So stay tuned. We'll take a look and see how our beef turns out. And after that, we're going to portion out everything and make individual shrink wrap portions. All right, so it didn't take nearly as long to dehydrate the meat as I thought it would. This is a new dehydrator for me. I've been using this old dehydrator from my mom that is really pretty ancient. I got this one on Amazon. It's only 100 bucks. And it works really well. So I'm gonna pull out the meat here. Let's take a look at it. So it's dried very nicely. This was to start out 1 pound of ground meat, okay? Let's see how much we have of dried meat. And we've got 3.9 ounces. It looks like it's nice and dry, so let's divide this up and vacuum seal. So I saved you guys the fun of watching me vacuum seal these things. What I would tell you is, since the meat is so dry and it's really, really sharp, it can easily puncture the side of these when you actually vacuum seal. So I line the inside with some parchment paper, basically just like a little envelope of parchment paper, and put the food in the inside. Then when I vacuum seal it, it won't puncture the bag itself. I do label them. All this effort, you say, well, gosh, I got 3 meals out of it. I got 1 with the zucchini and 2 with squash and meat. And you think, well, that's a lot of energy. And it is, it's a lot of energy, but if you're really trying to watch what you eat and make sure that you eat paleo on the trail, you may not have a lot of options. As far as cost goes, averaging out what I paid, $4 per meal, a lot cheaper than a Mountain House, that's for sure, and really a lot better for you. So coming up on a video soon, I'll show you exactly how to rehydrate these meals, but I took a little bit of the zucchini and just put some water into it, hot water, and you can see I've let it sit now for about 10 minutes. And you can see the individual pieces of zucchini. It's really nice. We'll give it a try. Oh wow. Really, really good, tasty meal. So that's it. That's how we make 2 versions of dehydrated paleo backpacking food. Dehydrated zucchini with meat and dehydrated spaghetti squash with meat. The zucchini, of course, we made into zoodles, as they call, zucchini noodles, and they're very, very good. Over the next couple months, I'll be coming up with more recipes that I can dehydrate here. Next, I think I'm gonna come up with a paleo chili, which should be really good and easy to rehydrate on the trail. As always, guys, I appreciate you checking out Paleo Hiker MD. I appreciate all the support. Like, comment, subscribe, all those things. Make sure you click subscribe down there. It really helps the channel grow. And if you like the video, give it a thumbs up and share it on social media. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay tuned for more videos here on Paleo Hiker MD.